Hello everyone, this is Keith, welcoming you to the Solo Gamers Club. Tonight we'll be journeying to the 17th century France, where we'll take on the roles of characters from Alexandre Dumas' immortal novel, The Three Musketeers. In the game, the villainous Cardinal Richelieu, Prime Minister to the King, aims to amass power by tarnishing the Queen's honor. He's recruited the aid of the alluring and lethal spy, the Countess Milady de Winter, and her devoted bodyguard, Rofer, to aid him in his schemes. As valiant musketeers to the king, our quest is to safeguard the Queen's honor by reclaiming a collection of invaluable diamonds. This board game is crafted for those who have been charmed by the novel's spirit of adventure, which was masterfully depicted on the screen in Richard Lester's 1973 film. So, embark with me on an epic adventure to 17th century France as we set up and play the King's Musketeers.
Once upon a time, D'Artagnan, a spirited young man from Gascony, brimming with dreams of joining the King's Musketeers, encounters Athos, Aramis, Porthos, and the enchanting Constance, a linen maid to the Queen. His journey swiftly propels him to the epicenter of a pivotal saga that could alter France's fate. Cardinal Richelieu, the King's Prime Minister, is relentless in his scheme to undermine the Queen and consolidate his influence over the nation. He orchestrates an elaborate ball where the Queen is expected to showcase a splendid set of diamonds, gifts from her husband, King Louis XIII. In a twist of fate, the Queen has rashly bestowed the jewels upon her paramour, the Duke of Buckingham, exacerbating the already strained relations between France and England. England's support for the Huguenot insurgents in La Rochelle, besieged by the King, adds to the tension. With the honor of a lady and the stability of the kingdom at stake, the Musketeers are compelled to intervene. Yet, they face a formidable adversary in the form of the astute and enchanting Milady de Winter, a spy for the Cardinal. She is determined to thwart their efforts, employing a mix of subterfuge, deceit, and her own considerable feminine charms.
We begin by laying out the game board. The board contains the various plot locations along with the time and money tracks. We place the time token on the first space of the time track. If the time track ever gets down to the bottom with the portrait of Cardinal Richelieu, the Musketeers instantly lose the game. You'll notice on the time track that there are various dice symbols as we proceed down the track. That will be the number of dice that will be rolled for Cardinal Richelieu in the La Rochelle resolution phase. Next to the time track is the arsenal, and this is a location where tokens are kept and can be purchased by the Musketeers to aid them in their quests. In the game, the economic base is called the pistole, and that is a Spanish doubloon, basically, that was in favor during 17th century France. We can use those pistoles to purchase equipment. We can purchase a thoroughbred, which allows us a free move during the turn. We can purchase a pistol, which will give us an automatic success in a duel during the first round. We can purchase armor, which is going to give us an extra armor result on the die roll, protecting us from wounds. Then we have what's known as a Toledo sword, and that's going to give us the ability to re-roll one die during the duel, any duels that we participate in. Next, we have balm, which will allow our musketeers to heal 2 wounds. Then we have upgrade tokens. This will allow us, for the cost of 1 adventure card, to purchase one of these upgrade tokens, and that will upgrade our various skill levels in the different skills that we have capabilities in. In 17th century France, men were very noble, and they valued 4 basic skills. One being erudition, which was basically book knowledge, an extensive man of the world, so to speak. Then we have nobility, and that would be the having a noble character. Then we have gallantry, and gallantry would be a gallant appearance or courteous attention to a lady. And finally we have panache, and that's dash or flamboyance in style and action. Finally, we have the ability to get a combat upgrade, and for the cost of 1 combat card, we can purchase a combat upgrade. If we ever can roll this combination, that's considered to be our secret maneuver, and that would allow us to win that duel immediately. Next is the quest area. In order for the Musketeers to win the game, they have to resolve a total of 4 quests. We begin with quest 1, and this quest is labeled the Queen's Diamonds. There'll be 4 chapters to it, and it basically follows kind of the book and the movie. And the first one is the Golden Lily Inn. On the road to Calais, the Musketeers are trapped in an inn by Milady's agents. To get out, a Musketeer must complete one of the 3 paths. For one action, he moves 1 space, and the time token is disclosed. If it is a decoy, nothing happens. Otherwise, a fight must take place. So to begin the game, Milady de Winter is going to place some tokens on this card, and she's going to attempt to, to disrupt the Musketeers' ability to move through this building. During setup, we're going to remove 4 blank tokens and 4 challenge tokens. Those will be set aside. All the other tokens will be inverted and mixed into a draw cup. To set up the first mission, we're going to take the 4 blanks and we're going to add 8 additional random tokens from the cup. All of those tokens will be inverted and we'll randomly place them in the locations on the Golden Lily Inn display. So to solve this quest, the Musketeers must travel to the Golden Lily Inn, and they will reach the common room, and then they're going to select either the bedrooms, the stables, or the cellar and attempt to transverse that row. And if they can get through it, they will solve the first chapter and they'll gain 2 adventure cards. Now, if the Musketeers can obtain some epic tokens, we can spend an epic token to reveal 3 tokens of the Musketeers' choice, and that will help us in deciding which path we want to take. The next location on the map is the quarters of Milady de Winter. Now, the Musketeers cannot travel here, and if she ends up deploying to that location, that's going to allow her to acquire a Paris card, and those are very useful for her in helping her disrupt the plans of the Musketeers. Now, her bodyguard and friend is Rofer. He is probably the land's greatest swordsman. Normally, in a duel, 1 hit is enough to remove an enemy. But as you can see here, Rofer actually has more health boxes, and as he takes wounds, it'll be charted with that heart token and moved out. Now, Rofer will be throwing 4 dice during combat, and he has a special maneuver. If he can roll that combination, that's an instant win for him. The next location is Cardinal Richelieu's den. If Milady deploys to the location, it allows her to draw treachery cards that can be played in the future against the Musketeers. Musketeers can also take a chance and attempt to infiltrate the Cardinal's den to see if Milady de Winter is in fact there. And if she is, that will deny her the ability to draw those treachery cards. However, if she's not at the location, the Cardinal and his guards will find the Musketeers and send them to La Bastille. The next locations are La Bastille, the prison, and Vieux Colombier, and that is the hotel where the Musketeers' headquarters is located. We will return to that location if we become incapacitated, and we would recover there. In the Bastille, we have the choice of either bribing the guards or attempting to escape by making a duel against a 3-point enemy. If we can successfully pass that test or bribe the guards, we move to Vieux Colombier. Our next location is the Paris location. In Paris, the Musketeers face all kinds of dangers, as Milady sets the most difficult challenges for them here, frequently targeting Constance, D'Artagnan's beloved. You'll notice that there's a space for a playing card that'll be put into that location. That will be an obstacle for the Musketeers that they must solve. We'll also see a Paris or Constance track. And normally, based on the card, if the token reaches the top, the card would be solved. And that's normally how it works. In order to solve the card, we have to move that Constance token up the track by different means. Next, we have the La Rochelle display. In the seaside port city of La Rochelle, the King of France is fiercely laying siege to the Huguenots. Even with the cardinal yearning to see La Rochelle fall, the opportunity for Milady to hinder the Musketeers is too good to pass up. She oversteps the boundaries of her orders through cunning sabotage. The siege is assessed during Phase 3 of the game, where the La Rochelle marker will sway back and forth during the combat. If the token ever reaches the left side of the display, Cardinal Richelieu will win the game automatically. However, if we're able to move the token all the way to the right, the Musketeers will earn a very valuable bonus. And that will earn them a one-for-all card. During the game, the Musketeers can travel to La Rochelle and play various combat cards at the bottom, and those will give us some extra dice to roll when Milady is attempting to move this token towards Cardinal Richelieu and victory. And finally, we have Le Louvre. That is the palace of the royal couple. Milady will use all of her evil to permanently discredit the Queen through missions that involve challenges and duels. You'll notice that we have a Queen token. If the Queen token is ever moved all the way to the right to Cardinal Richelieu's portrait, the Musketeers will immediately lose the game. You'll also see that there is an outline here for a card, and there will be a Le Louvre card played there. And that will give the Musketeers a challenge that must be solved before this time tracker reaches the bottom. If it does, the mission is failed, and then the negative effects will apply. And these will directly generally move between the card and the results will move that Queen token towards the right. So to begin the game, Milady de Winter is going to draw a Le Louvre card, and it will be played in that location. She draws homing pigeons. Milady is spreading the rumor that the Queen is using some devcotes in Paris to send out secret messages. You must stifle this dangerous gossip. All right, so we're going to turn that card over, and that will find out what we need to do to solve that. You'll notice on the upper left-hand corner there are 3 shields there. That's going to allow Milady de Winter to place some adversaries and traps that are going to interfere with the Musketeers' ability to solve that mission. Now, in order to solve this, they need to acquire a total of 6 panache. Now, each of the Musketeers is rated in the 4 main skill attributes of the game: erudition, nobility, gallantry, and panache. So we need to have, through a combination of skills and adventure cards, we have to produce a total of 6 panache, and then that mission would be solved. If we solve it, we gain 2 pistoles. Now, in order to solve the mission, it's not only do we have to get the 6 panache, but we would have to defeat the 3 points of strength of units that Milady de Winter is going to bring against us. Now, Milady de Winter is our arch enemy. Now, she has several decks of cards that are going to aid her in trying to stop the Musketeers from achieving success. The green cards are the Paris cards. The red cards are treachery cards. The purple cards are traps. And finally, the gray cards with the portrait of Cardinal Richelieu are adversaries. Now, in the standard game, the player that is operating Milady de Winter can select the cards that they want to play. But in the solo game, we have to do this randomly. So what I've done is I've modified the solo rules a little bit, and I've got a procedure that will help us to randomly place traps and adversaries on the board. Now, with that card from Le Louvre, we have to place a total of 3 points worth of adversaries and traps. You can only play 1 trap card, but you can play adversary cards as many as the strength that they are worth. So we start out by drawing an adversary card, and we check the value of that. And we've got La Hundière. He has a value of 3, so he is going to be the only card that'll be drawn, because that's going to use up all 3 shields. And he has some pretty good abilities here. He will nullify pistols and armors. He rolls 4 dice during a duel, and if he can be defeated, the Musketeers will earn 3 pistoles. So we place La Houdinière in Le Louvre. So we place that card next to that location, and in order to solve this, we have to not only acquire the 6 panache, but we have to defeat La Houdinière. Next, we're going to return to Paris, and Lady de Winter is going to randomly draw a Paris card, and we're going to place that in Paris. And this is one of the primary mechanisms that the game will be using to fight against us. So we'll reveal that card, and that says blackmail. All right, it's going to take a total of 6 gallantry, and there's going to be 3 shields worth of adversaries and traps. And that reads, as long as the mission is not completed, Milady picks 1 perfidy card and earns 2 successes at the end of the round. When Milady has reached 6 successes, this card is discarded, and she can play 2 perfidy cards per round, or draw a perfidy card and play another one. Perfidy cards are the same as treachery cards. It's just another name for it. That would be these treachery cards. So in order to prevent that from occurring, we need to solve this blackmail mission before the track is raised up to the top. Now, Milady de Winter needs to deploy a total of 3 strength worth of traps and adversaries. So we begin by drawing an adversary card. Now, this one is worth a strength of 2, and that's Bernajoux. He has a secret move. If he rolls 3 shields, it's an auto win for him. So we've used up 2 of the 3 shields, so her third one is going to be used up by drawing a trap card. Those are always worth 1, and you can only play 1 trap per location. In this case, it's Nemesis. One of the adversaries present of Milady's choice is the personal enemy of one of the Musketeers, as chosen by Milady. Only this Musketeer can take this duel to an end. All right. Now, in a standard competitive game, one of the players will be operating Milady de Winter. She's going to receive her token, some location cards, and a screen. And she'll be performing her actions behind the screen so that the Musketeers don't know what's happening. But in the solitaire game, the screen won't be used, and we'll have game mechanisms that will control Milady de Winter. instead of using these location cards, she would, in a normal game, she would pick the location that she wants to go to. Paris, Cardinal Richelieu's Den, the Louvre, etc. But instead of having her pick the card, what we're going to do is we're going to use some custom tokens that I have designed. And these will be the Milady tokens. The Milady tokens have a portrait of Milady de Winter on the front, and then on the back we have either Milady is not here or Milady strikes. So we're going to be checking those tokens as we play the game. The Musketeers won't know where she's deployed to, and this will play very much like a standard competitive game because we won't know where Milady is deploying to. We're going to place these tokens out on the board on each of the spaces that she operates in, and then as the game turn plays, we would reveal her location, find out if she's truly there, and whether those game effects will take place or not. Now in the standard solitaire rules, we use these location cards and a card is randomly drawn and revealed, but the problem with that is the Musketeers know where she is. So with my solo variant, we don't know where she's going to deploy to until a game function requires us to reveal her location. Now to start the game, Milady de Winter is going to draw a total of 3 treachery cards. Now another aspect of the solo rules is we remove the 2 emergency cards from the deck. These are more useful in a competitive game, and they would make the game a little more difficult to play solitaire. These cards would involve the use of a timer. The game comes with a timer for Milady, and when this card is drawn, she would turn that timer over, and the Musketeers have that much time to complete their actions for the turn. When the timer runs out, whether they've completed their actions or not, their turn ends. But we're not going to use this in the solitaire rules. So instead, Milady is going to draw 3 random cards to start the game. And we don't know what those are, and we will turn one of those over at the start of each turn. Our characters are the Musketeers, and I'm going to be playing a total of a 5-player game. We have Milady de Winter and 4 Musketeers. Now you'll notice some colored chips that I have at the side of each of the displays, and those are my own chips, and this is just a slight modification for myself to help remember how many actions each of the characters have taken. In a 4-player game, each Musketeer can perform a total of 3 actions per turn. So as they perform an action, we simply slide the token off the display, and that keeps track of the number of actions that they have taken. One of the important strategy portions of the game is deciding the turn order. We can select any Musketeer to activate during a turn. And it's very important to coordinate these because each Musketeer has his own special and unique abilities. Each Musketeer is rated in the 4 skill values. We have erudition, nobility, gallantry, and panache. And those are their starting skill values. Those can be increased by obtaining upgrades. And as an example, say Porthos has an upgrade to erudition. He would add 1 to his erudition value, giving it a total of 3. The display will also list their combat ability and their special maneuver. In this case, Porthos, if he can roll the 3 fleur-de-lis, that's an instant win for him. Now, Porthos' special ability is the fact that he has a total of 5 health. Normally, the Musketeers have 3 health, but he's got 5. At the beginning of the game, each of the Musketeers starts in their own starting space. First, we have Aramis. He's the blue player. He's going to start in La Rochelle. We have the blue water and the blue color of Aramis. Next is D'Artagnan. He's yellow, and he'll start in Paris, which has a yellow background. Then we have Porthos. He's brown, And he's going to start in the Louvre, which has a brown background. And finally we have Athos, and he's going to start in Vieux Colombier, which has the green windows, as you can see, and his token is green. So it's an easy way to remember where their starting locations are. Each of the Musketeers will start a 5-player game with 5 adventure cards. We have the 4 Musketeers and the Lady de Winter, which equals 5 players. The Musketeers adventure deck is one of the primary mechanisms that they're going to use to solve all of these missions and to perform combat and to gain aid from characters. The cards consist of combat cards, which are either value 2 or value 1. One of the skill values of nobility or panache, and those can be played. A nobility card would add an extra nobility to the character's base total. And finally we have character cards, and these will add benefits for the Musketeers. Either the player picks 3 adventure cards as an example with Lord de Winter, or in this card the Musketeers would gain 3 pistoles. So we're going to shuffle that deck up, and each of the Musketeers will draw a hand of 5. There is no hand limit in this game. You can have as many cards as you want. So each of the Musketeers have drawn a total of 5 cards, and they can play them as a part of their turn. Most of these cards at the bottom will say playing this card costs an action. The game is now set and we're ready for play. Now to win the game, the Musketeers must complete the 4 missions that we have that make up the Queen's Diamonds adventure. Musketeers can lose the game in several ways. If the time track reaches the Cardinal Richelieu space, we lose. If the La Rochelle military track moves to the left to Cardinal Richelieu's portrait, we lose. And finally, the third way is for the Queen's track to move to the Cardinal Richelieu portrait, and she would be dishonored and we would lose. There's also one Paris card that would allow Milady de Winter to strangle Constance, and we would also lose the game by that method. So we'll begin the solo sequence of play, and we begin with the Milady phase. We start out by shuffling the Milady tokens, and we're going to place one in each of the following locations. We'll place one at the quest, one in Milady's quarters, one in Cardinal Richelieu's den, one in Paris, one in La Rochelle, and one in Le Louvre. Next up, Milady de Winter would check to see if there is a Paris card in Paris. If there is, she doesn't have to do anything else. If there's not, she can play a Paris card from her hand. And she can acquire those Paris cards if she deploys to Milady's quarters. And the final step of the Milady phase is she is going to play a random treachery card from her hand or draw a treachery card from the deck. In this case, she's going to play one. And she plays the card Trap. Milady inflicts a wound to the musketeer of her choice, to be played at the beginning of the round. All right. So we need to determine a random musketeer. Now on the back of the action help cards, we have portraits of the musketeers. And we can shuffle those up, and that will be an easy way for us to randomly draw a musketeer that she is going to use that trap on. So here is the draw, and she's going to select Aramis. All right, Aramis is going to take a wound. So we're going to move Aramis's wound tracker down 1 box. If he gets to the blue heart, he's going to be disabled and he'll be sent to Vieux Colombier to recover. Now our next phase of the game is the Musketeers phase. Each of the Musketeers will be able to act and perform up to 3 actions. Whenever we select a Musketeer, he will complete all of his actions, and then we would move on to the next Musketeer. You can't save actions. So if we chose Aramis to act first, he would have to perform all 3 of his available actions first, finishing those, and then we'd move on to another Musketeer. Now this is where the strategy of the game really kicks in, and that's deciding on what actions we want to take in our efforts to solve these 4 quests that we have. That's our primary objective, but we also have to be cognitive of these tracks. If any of these tracks move to the Richelieu space, we're going to instantly lose, so we can't allow that to happen. At the same token, we have to worry about these Paris cards. In this case, the blackmail card is up. And it says as long as the mission is not completed, Milady picks 1 perfidy card and earns 2 successes at the end of the round. When Milady has reached 6 successes, this card is discarded and can play 2 perfidy cards per round, or draw a perfidy card and play another one. So we don't want that to happen. She's already playing 1 card per turn, and this would make it 2. So in order to solve this, we have to not only achieve 6 gallantry in that space, but we have to defeat Bernajoux and that Nemesis card, which will make it a little bit more difficult for us to do that. In addition, if we attempt to solve, either duel one of the characters that are present or attempt to solve the challenge, we'll have to reveal whether Milady de Winter is present, and if she is, she's going to deploy to the board in that location, and Rofer, her bodyguard, is going to interrupt us, and we'll have to fight a round of combat with him. So we don't want that to happen either. And I think we're going to begin with Aramis. He is the blue player. Aramis begins in La Rochelle, and this track is going to be the most likely on how we're going to lose the game. And in my practice game, that is precisely how I lost. The token moved to Cardinal Richelieu space, and I was unable to stop it, and we lost the game. So what we're going to do is Aramis will check out his hand of cards and see if he can play any combat cards down here, and that's going to help us to keep that token from moving. Each turn we're going to have a La Rochelle phase where we're going to resolve the combat in La Rochelle. Milady de Winter is currently going to be rolling 1 dice, and that is what is listed on the turn track. And as the turn track moves down, she's going to be gaining more and more dice here. Now we can play up to 3 combat cards, and each of those cards will give us 1 blue die that we can roll during the La Rochelle phase. So I think Aramis is going to use an action, and he's going to play a combat card to the La Rochelle box, and we place that under the board. That's going to give us 1 die that we can use during that phase. We'll be able to roll 1 blue die. Incidentally, during the Musketeers phase, they can perform the following actions. They can pick an adventure card from the deck. They can move. They can exchange items with other characters in their space. They can play a character card. They can stage a fight at La Rochelle. They can attempt to solve a challenge on the board. They can attempt to duel with one of the adversaries present in their location, or they can purchase some items, equipment, and improvements from the armory. So in this case, Aramis has chosen to stage a fight in La Rochelle, and he's added a combat card, and that represents some swordsmen that have accompanied him, and he's placed them in La Rochelle to help prevent that track from moving. I think his next action is going to be to play a character card, and he's going to play the character card Buckingham. The Musketeer receives an epic token. Playing this card costs an action, so we're going to receive an epic token, and we can place that on the mission. And these epic tokens are very valuable, and that gives us special abilities that we can use either on the mission or sometimes on other actions. So in this case, we're going to place the epic token on the mission card, and that will allow us a special action on this particular mission. If we spend a epic token, we can turn over 3 of the undisclosed tokens that are on this display, and that will help us decide which path we are going to want to try to take to cross through either the bedrooms, the stables, or cellar and reach the completion of the mission. So that's a very valuable token. And I think for his third action, Aramis is going to move to the Golden Lily Inn. We'll put him in the common room, and during his next activation, he'll be able to possibly try to traverse one of those corridors and solve the first aspect of that mission. Incidentally, these Milady tokens are only revealed when we need to reveal them, and that would be when one of the characters attempts a duel or attempts to solve a mission in his space. So as an example, if Aramis was attempting to move through the cellar, we would determine whether Milady is there, and if she is, he's going to be interrupted and have to battle Rofer. Now we have to decide who to activate next, and this Paris card is actually quite damaging to us, so I think we need to try to solve that. So I think what we'll do is, I think I'm going to activate Porthos. Porthos has the highest gallantry, which we need 6 gallantry to solve that, in addition to removing the adversaries that are present. Porthos has the highest gallantry value. He's at a 4. So if we can get him a total of 6, either cards in combination with his base skill, we can solve that by discarding those gallantry cards and then eventually defeating any adversaries that are present. If we can, when we solve this, we would place a complete token on there, and that will tell us that we've solved that portion of that mission, and then all we have to do is defeat any adversaries that are present. So I think we're going to try to do that. So we're going to do an action by activating Porthos, and he's going to move from the Louvre to Paris. That takes 1 action. His second action is going to be to trade cards or items with any musketeers that are present. We have D'Artagnan is present. So what he's going to do is he's going to organize a trade with him. And what he'll do is D'Artagnan has a gallantry card, and he's going to give that to Porthos. And Porthos can give him something, and I think he'll give him both of his panache cards. And we can use those to try to solve this mission that we have in the Louvre. So we'll give those to D'Artagnan. Now, during a trade action, you can only trade with 1 musketeer present. You can't do multiple trades. Those would be separate actions. And now for Porthos's third action, we could attempt to engage Bernajoux in a duel, but the problem is Milady has this Nemesis card, and that allows her to choose any enemy on the board that is going to have the only person that'll have that ability to actually take him out. So we don't want to engage him because she's obviously going to select someone that's not present. So I think what we'll do is, I think we'll make some purchases at the arsenal. Now at the arsenal we can purchase items or upgrades. We have a value on our money track of 3. Now that's considered to be a community purse for all the musketeers. Any of the musketeers can spend out of this, and obviously if one spends the money, it's not available for another, so we have to be careful with that. And when you undertake a get equipped or improvement, you can do up to 2 per turn. We could buy 2 items, an item and an upgrade, or any mix of that which we wish. And I think Porthos, what he's going to do is he's going to get an upgrade, and he's going to upgrade his gallantry. So what we're going to do is spend 1 card, the cost of 1 card, we'll use a nobility card. We can take a gallantry token, and that's the flower. So we'll give him a gallantry token. That's going to raise his gallantry by 1. That'll move him up to a total of 5. And I think for the next action, he's going to spend 2 pistoles, and he's going to purchase some armor. That's going to give him an automatic shield result when he engages in a duel, which will be very helpful in preventing wounds. So I think that'll be his third action. That's one thing I learned in my test playthrough, is it's very important in this game to make sure that your musketeers are well prepared. You don't want to send them in without equipment or upgrades. And if we can take care of that in the early portion of the game, that'll make us stronger throughout the game, which is a good thing. I think next up we will activate D'Artagnan. He's currently in Paris, and I think we're going to have him move to the Louvre, and we can attempt to solve this Louvre card that's here. We need 6 panache. He has 4 on his card, and he's got 3 of them in his hand. So that'll be enough to solve that. So I think we'll use 1 action for him to move to the Louvre. Now, in order to solve this, we not only need to complete the panache aspects of this, where we have to acquire 6 panache and spend cards equal to that with our skill level, but we also have to defeat any adversaries that are present. Now, La Houdinière is very skillful. He's got a skill value of 4, so we're going to need to upgrade, I think, D'Artagnan's abilities a bit. But I think in this turn, what he's going to do is he's going to spend his second action, and he's going to draw a card. And we're hoping to get a combat card that we can use to purchase his skill upgrade. So we'll draw a combat or a adventure card and see what he gets. And he gets a nobility card. All right, that's not what we wanted. So I think we'll use his last action and draw another card, hoping to get a combat card. And he didn't. He's got the panache. So, all right, we'll add those cards to his display, and that's going to complete D'Artagnan's activation. And our last musketeer is Athos. Now, Athos has a very interesting special ability. He, in the background of this story, was once the husband of Milady de Winter. So she will never use Rofer to interfere with him. And that's his special ability. So even if Milady de Winter is present, he will never have to fight Rofer, which is a good thing. He's currently at the Vieux Colombier, and I think what he'll do is he'll start out by spending an action and drawing an adventure card. And he draws Gallantry. All right, I'm looking to get him a combat card because I'd like to trade that to D'Artagnan so that he can use that combat card to get his upgrade next turn. We'll try another action by drawing a card. And he gets another Gallantry card. All right. Well, I think for his third action, we'll do another draw. This will be his third action. And he gets panache, so that won't help us. So all of our musketeers now have spent their 3 actions. We'll add these cards to Athos's stack of cards, and we'll move on now to the La Rochelle phase. Now, during the La Rochelle phase, we begin by revealing whether Milady is present in La Rochelle. Turn over the token, and she is. She is present. And her special ability is she can get rid of 1 combat card that has been played in the La Rochelle area. So she's going to discard this combat card that we played earlier. And now we're going to resolve the battle at La Rochelle. We will gain no cards, or no dice rather. We have no cards played. She's going to gain 1 dice, and she gets a dice for whatever's listed on the time track. In this case, it's 1. So we're going to roll all the dice we have, in this case just 1, and for every red sword, it's going to move this La Rochelle token closer to Cardinal Richelieu's portrait. If it gets there, we lose. So we'll roll the die. And it is a sword. So that is going to move the token one space to the left, getting it closer to the lost condition. And now we move on to the end of turn phase. We begin with the Milady portion. And it says if Milady's location has been revealed during the turn, she remains in the space. So she's going to stay where she is. She won't be moving. If she was not revealed, we would go through a sequence of steps to determine where her ultimate location will be. So it's important for us during the turn to try to reveal where she is on the board. And if we're able to locate her, that kind of isolates her and she's not able to move around and perform actions. So in this case, she has been revealed to be in La Rochelle, and she did her duty. She's moved that token one space to the left. So our other actions will be to move the timer. We move the timer chip down 1. And we also move the Louvre token down 1. Because we haven't completed the card, this moves down 1. And then this is the reward that we would get if we're able to complete that, in addition to any pistoles we would get for completing that. But eventually, when it starts moving to the lower portions of the track, the queen will start losing honor. 1 space and then 2 spaces, along with the Milady being able to draw a treachery card. So we've got to solve that somewhat quickly. And finally, if the Paris card is in play, we're going to resolve its effects. And the Paris card is in play, and it has not been completed. So it says Milady is going to pick a perfidy card, and she's going to earn 2 successes on the track. So we move the Constance marker up 2, and Milady is going to draw a perfidy card or a treachery card. We put that to her stack of cards. And the last step is to collect all of the Milady tokens and shuffle them and get them ready for the next turn. So we're ready to begin the next turn. It's the Milady phase. We're going to shuffle those tokens up and place 1 face down on each of the pertinent spaces on the board. Next step is to check to see if there is a Paris card active in the Paris space. If there is, nothing else happens. If there isn't, Milady can deploy a new Paris card to the location if she has one. And finally, she will play a random treachery card from her hand, or she can draw one if she has none. She currently has 3 cards, so she's going to play a random card, and she plays the card Conspiracy. The queen immediately loses 1 honor point to be played at the beginning of the round. So the queen's marker is moved 1 space towards the right. And once again, if that reaches the end of the track, we're going to instantly lose the game. That'll complete Milady's phase, and we'll move on to the Musketeers' activations. And I think we're going to begin with Porthos, and he's going to try to solve that Paris card. And I think we're going to begin by attempting to duel Bernajoux. Now, she has that special card, Nemesis. It says one of the adversaries present of Milady's choice is the personal enemy of one of the Musketeers as chosen by Milady. Now, we only have 1 Musketeer present, so it has to be Porthos. We were able to move D'Artagnan out. Otherwise, she would have selected the opposite, obviously, to delay us in trying to get rid of Bernajoux. So he's going to institute a duel with Bernajoux. So the first thing we do is we have to reveal the Milady token, see if she is present. She is not. So he is going to battle Bernajoux in a duel. So we begin by building our dice pool. Now Bernajoux has a strength of 3, so he's going to be rolling 3 red dice. Porthos has a strength of 3. He'll be rolling 3 blue dice. And in addition, Porthos can also play combat cards, which will aid him in the duel. And I think he'll do that. He has 1 combat card, and he's going to play that. So by playing the combat card, he's going to get an additional blue die, and that'll give him 4 of them. All right. So now what's going to happen is we're going to roll these dice. And the first thing we will do is, after rolling the dice, we're going to check to see if either character met their special skill action and win the duel automatically. That'll be the first step. So we'll roll these dice and see if that happens. All right, there is the roll. Let's take a closer look at that. First step is we will check to see if either of the combatants met their special ability. Bernajoux needed to get 3 shields, and he didn't do that, so he didn't get his special maneuver. Neither did Porthos. Porthos would have needed 3 fleur-de-lis, and he doesn't have that. So we start going through the combat procedure. We compare swords with shields, and each shield takes out a sword. So in this case, the sword from Bernajoux is met with a shield by Porthos. Same thing will happen again. There's another sword, and Porthos has a shield. And in addition, Porthos has a sword, but Bernajoux has a shield. The fleur-de-lis is useless in this case. So right now it is a draw. So what happens is we remove 1 die from each of the combatants and we re-roll the remaining dice in an attempt to see who's going to win the duel. And we'll make the roll and see what happens. All right, same procedure will occur. We'll examine to see if anyone has their special maneuver. Bernajoux is only rolling 2 dice, so he won't be able to get his. And Porthos has 2 fleur-de-lis and a sword. All right, well, he needed to get 3 of those. Now, Porthos has 1 special ability, and that is this. He's got armor. So that armor is considered to be a blue shield. So we will go through the procedure. We've got a sword and a shield. We have a sword, but we have no shield. So 1 wound is going to get through onto Porthos. And as well, we have a blue sword with no red shield. So each side is going to take a wound. Now 1 wound is sufficient to remove Bernajoux from the game. So Porthos has managed to defeat Bernajoux in a duel, but he was wounded in the process. So that armor came in handy, because otherwise Porthos would have been dealt 2 wounds and he would have taken 2 wounds instead of 1. So we're going to move his health tracker down 1 for the wound that he took, courtesy of Bernajoux. Porthos is going to activate again, and he's going to, I think, try to solve the challenge. So in order to solve this challenge, we need to get a total of 6 gallantry. So let's take a look at Porthos's card and see if we can generate 6 gallantry. Porthos has a rating of 4 in gallantry. He has 1 upgrade. That'll give him 5, and he'll play a gallantry card, giving him a total of 6, and that is going to complete the blackmail scheme. So the blackmail scheme is solved, and we would place a solved token on that card. We've also dealt with any adversaries that were present, with Porthos defeating Bernajoux, and so the card is removed from the table. And we reset the Constance marker back to 0. So Porthos did his job. He did a great job. He has 1 action remaining, and I think what he'll do is he'll use that to draw a card. So we'll have him draw an adventure card, and he gets a combat card, which is great. We'll add that to his hand. Incidentally, for defeating Bernajoux, we're going to earn 2 pistoles. So we'll move our economic tracker up 2. So we'll move our coin purse up 2, and we're at a total of 3 right now. I think our next activation is going to be D'Artagnan. He's currently at the Louvre, and he would like to solve this Louvre card to prevent this track from moving down any further, and then in turn moving the Queen's token closer to the lose condition. So we need to not only obtain 6 panache, but we have to defeat La Houdinière, which is a very powerful enemy. And I think what I'd like to do is to try to get a combat card for D'Artagnan, and then he can use that to purchase an upgrade for himself that will make him a little bit better in combat against this very difficult adversary. So I think we'll start out by spending his first action and drawing an adventure card. And he draws nobility. It's not what we wanted. All right. And I think his second action will be another draw of an adventure card. He gets gallantry. All right, I think his third action will be to deal with at least the panache portion of this card. So he'll spend an action. D'Artagnan has 4 panache, and he can play 2 panache cards, and that would be sufficient to complete at least that portion of the card. So he's going to discard 2 panache, and with his base value of 4 is the total of 6. So we'll place a completed token on there, and now all we have to worry about is defeating La Houdinière. Well, I would like to undertake the Golden Lily Inn quest with Aramis. He's already there, but we've got kind of a problem here in La Rochelle. If that token keeps continuing to move down, we're going to lose. So we're going to use a action to move Aramis back to La Rochelle. He's going to spend a second action. He's going to reinforce La Rochelle with a combat card. We had one there before, but Lady de Winter removed it. So now we've got at least some ability to counter her actions in that location. And I think his third action will be to draw an adventure card. And he ends up drawing panache. So we'll add that card to his total. And all we have left now is Athos. Now, if we could move Athos into the Louvre, he could attempt to duel La Houdinière, but he doesn't have any combat cards, unfortunately, so he'd be only rolling 3 dice against La Houdinière's 4. So we need to try to boost his combat abilities a little bit. I think I'll spend 1 action and have him draw an adventure card. Maybe we can get a combat card, and we do. He's got a combat card. We'll add that to his total. I think for his second action, he's going to move to the Louvre. And then we can decide if we want to try to duel La Houdinière or not. It's kind of a risk. But I think we'll try it. So we're going to spend our last action and we're going to attempt a duel with Athos and La Houdinière. So we're going to reveal whether Lady de Winter is present. And she is. So that means that his duel with La Houdinière is going to be interrupted with a duel with Rofer, Europe's greatest swordsman. But not so fast. His special ability is he doesn't have to fight Rofer. He's the ex-husband of Milady, and she will not have Rofer combat him. So we don't have to worry about that. Even though she's present, she says, no, you're not going to fight him. So we will have our battle against La Houdinière. So La Houdinière is going to get 4 dice. That is his strength. And Athos is going to get 3 dice. And he does have a combat card, however. And he's going to use that combat card to give him an extra blue die for the combat. All right. So he's going to play his combat card. That'll give him that extra blue die. And we'll roll these out and see what happens. Now, Athos has a special maneuver. If he gets the 3 fleur-de-lis, he will win automatically. La Houdinière does not have a secret maneuver, but he does have nullification of pistols and armor. So if the character had any of those, we wouldn't be able to use them. But he doesn't. Here's the roll. All right, there is our roll. We check to see if anyone has their secret maneuver. Lahoudinière does not have one. Athos has one. It's the 3 fleur-de-lis, so he only has one, so that won't happen. Now we'll start examining the swords. And we've got a sword and a red shield, and that'll stop that one. We have another sword and a red shield, but we have a sword with no red shield. That's going to deal 1 wound to Lahoudinière, and that's enough to kill him. We have to continue resolving these, though. Fleur-de-lis is useless. Now, Lahoudinière has a sword. Blue does not have a shield, so he's going to take a wound. And another one is going to kick in without a shield. So Athos is going to take 2 wounds, but he has defeated Lahoudinière. So we'll move his health tracker down 2. And we've actually won the combat against Lahoudinière. All right, so Athos has defeated Lahoudinière, and with our completion of the test that we had, we've completed that mission. So we're going to earn 2 pistoles and 3 pistoles for defeating Lahoudinière, and we check the current location of the Louvre token, and that's at 2 epic markers. So we're going to gain 2 epic tokens that we can place on our mission card, the Golden Lily Inn. That gives us a total of 3 up there. Those come in quite handy. So these cards are going to be discarded, and in the Louvre, when the card is completed, you immediately draw a new one and place it in the location. This one is Noble Lineage. One of the Queen's companions has contacted an expert in heraldry to falsify her lineage. You must put an end to this crook's activities before Milady takes advantage of the situation. All right, let's see what we have to do. Well, we're going to need to pass a nobility test of 6, and she's going to have a strength of 3 coming in for this. So we're going to start out by drawing a adversary card. First one is Bremont. All right, he throws 1 die again during the first round. Strength of 3. So that's used up 2 of the 3 shields. So we'll draw a trap card and add that to the scenario. This one is Beggars. A group of beggars is hindering the Musketeers. As long as they haven't received 2 pistoles as charity, they prevent them from acting here. This card is discarded when the 2 pistoles are paid. Okay, so that'll be the new challenge for us at the Louvre. So we've earned a total of 5 pistoles. That'll move us up to 8, which is great. And that's going to complete the Musketeers' turn. We'll move on to the La Rochelle phase. So we'll resolve the La Rochelle phase. Now we already know that Milady is not here. She deployed to the Louvre. So what will happen is we're going to check the turn track, and we're currently still at 1 red die. So she'll be rolling 1 die, and we'll be rolling 1 blue die because of our combat card. Now in this case, only swords are looked at. The shields have no value, and neither does the fleur-de-lis. So it's just swords. And red has 1 sword. It's going to move 1 point to the left. We're getting awfully close here to a problem in La Rochelle. And now we'll move on to the end phase, and this is the Milady portion of that. In this case, Milady has been revealed, so she's not going to move. Her actions were already performed in this location. So we'll move the time tracker. That's going to move down to turn 3. And then we're going to advance. Oh, by the way, the Louvre token gets reset. When a new card comes out, we reset it to its starting position. And then it says to move the Louvre token, so it would move down 1. And finally, we check the Paris location. If a Paris card is in play, we would apply its effects. Well, there is no Paris card there, so Milady is going to have to attempt to place one there, and we'll see if that would happen in a future turn. And that basically completes 2 turns of the King's Musketeers. I'll come back and I'll give you my thoughts on the game. Well, I have to say this game is really very, very good. If you're a fan of the novel The Three Musketeers or any of the films, this game mirrors that very, very closely. You feel like you're in the book or in the movie. It's much of that swashbuckling and feel to it, with sword fights and the musketeers running around trying to protect the queen. And I think this game does a really good job. The mechanics are fun, and it plays extremely well solo. Even if you didn't use the solo method that I'm using here with these Milady tokens, even if you use the solo rules that are included in the game, it still plays very well. The advantage of these Milady tokens gives us more, it's more closely in line with the actual game, the competitive game. And this is what would be happening we're simulating what would happen in a competitive game where we really don't know where Milady's going to deploy to. So it gives us that little bit of second guessing, which is always a good thing in a solo game. Incidentally, I should point out about the dice, there is an advantage for Milady. She only has 2 results. That's the sword and the shield. So she's got a 50% chance of sword and 50% chance of shield. Now for us, we have swords, shields, and the fleur-de-lis. So we only have a 1 in 3 chance of getting any of those. So it's a little tougher for us for combat, and that's why we need to prepare ourselves with weapons, the pistol, the Toledo sword, or getting our special action, our special maneuver in combat. And those things all together help quite a bit in equalizing the playing field for us. Now, one thing I really like about the game is the different characters that we have to fight against. All of them are different, and they have different skills and different capabilities, and I really like that. And so you never really know who you're going to be fighting against, and plus with the fact that Rolfer could come in at any time if Milady happens to be in the space that you're operating. We have to interrupt and have a battle with Europe's greatest swordsman. So all in all, this game is extremely well designed, and it is a ton of fun for a solitaire gamer. So that about wraps this video up. I wanted to provide a introductory video for this for maybe a future playthrough where I'll play through the entire game. But I wanted to give the viewers a heads up on this before this game goes out of print. There are still copies that can be purchased on Amazon, and I bought this copy. This is technically, believe it or not, a used copy, which I bought from Noble Knight Games. But the cards were still in cellophane, the pieces were still in their cellophane, and the game was essentially brand new, which was fantastic. I was very happy to get a copy of this. So until next time, this is Keith from the Solo Gamers Club signing off and wishing everyone a pleasant evening. Good night.